Well, hey there, happy innovators. How y'all doing, huh? I'm just sitting here playing my new guitar. I bought a new one. I'll tell you what, there's nothing better than playing a brand new guitar, especially one that you've been dreaming about for several years. And I'm playing it right now. It's in my hands. I kind of can't believe that it's actually in my studio. I'm holding it and playing it. It's Christmas, you know? Yeah, that's enough of that. This guitar is extra special because it's what they call a hollow body guitar, and I've wanted one for a long time. And this one has a tremolo bar or whammy bar on it, and I've wanted one of those for a while too. Hear that? Yeah. Yay! Oh yeah. It's like having a new girlfriend. So, that's enough of that. And you know what? I'm so happy with that guitar. It was so worth the wait. You know, I waited a long time and got my dream guitar. And pretty cool. And, you know, before I get too far into this podcast today, I wanted to say, like, as usual, I have my cup of coffee here, you know, take a sip. And, you know, this time around, I decided to take the suggestion of one of my loyal listeners for the Singularity podcast that goes by the name Slimerican Life. And, you know, this listener, this happy innovator, had suggested that I try 8 o'clock bean coffee and see how I liked it, you know, see how it went. And you know what? I got to tell you, I'm drinking my first cup right now, and it's absolutely fantastic. I have to say, I'm shocked. Maybe not as good as Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Okay, maybe not, but a close second, I would say. So thank you, Slimerican Life, for listening to the Singularity podcast for as long as you have. And thank you for commenting and making a suggestion, because, you know, sometimes when people do that kind of thing, you know, they comment or suggest things, I'll listen. And so thank you very much. And I'm going to take another sip. I suggest that if you have a cup of coffee, now would be a good time to take a sip. And if you don't have a cup of coffee, why don't you go grab one, and I'll wait for you, okay? Take a sip. Okay, that's good coffee. And I lied. I'm not going to wait. So, sorry. If you're getting a cup of coffee right now, you'll be able to maybe rewind this podcast and, you know, listen to what you missed while you were grabbing your cup of coffee. So, without any further ado, we'll get on with this thing. And, you know, I had this idea to talk about this memory that I have. It goes way back when I was in high school. And it's just been on my mind for some reason. You know, it was one of those things, like one of those memories that I had forgotten about. I forget a lot of things, you know, and every once in a while they'll blow through my mind again. And I figured with this idea, this story that I'm going to tell you, you know, as soon as it came back into my mind, I'm like, I'm going to grab that one and use it for a podcast. And, you know, the story really goes something like this. Like, back in the day, like when I was in high school, maybe like, you know, a junior in high school or something. So that would have made it like 87, 88, or 89. You know, I used to, at lunchtime or after lunch, I used to go outside the school building and there was this concession stand out by our football field, and that's where all the bad kids would go to smoke cigarettes and, do God knows what, over by the concession stand. It was like just kind of like a place where, you'd eat your lunch, you'd go out there to have a smoke, and you never know who you were going to really like run into. It could be anybody, And so this one day, I was out there as usual after lunch, out there having a smoke by the concession stand with all these other kids. And there was another guy there who was in a band, and I was, of course, in a band as well. And I knew of him. I knew him not really well, but, we got to talking, and there was maybe like a group of maybe 10 people there, and we're talking about this guy who played bass guitar and sang in a group called The Cars. Now, I'm sure that you know the band The Cars, and the person that we were talking about was their lead singer, Benjamin Orr, who had been born and raised not too far from where I lived, okay, like a couple cities over, a couple towns over. And I was not the world's biggest Cars fan. I was not the world's biggest Benjamin Orr fan. That sounds funny, Orr fan. I was not the Benjamin Orphan. But anyway, the conversation was kind of like one of those things where this guy from this other band was talking about Benjamin Orr. He was saying like his mother knew him and had gone to school with him and hung out with him. And he was this big loser, like kind of stupid, all these derogatory things about this guy, Benjamin Orr from The Cars. And now, like I said, I wasn't like a huge Cars fan, okay, but I knew a lot of their music and I didn't hate it, My older brother had bought like their first album or had won it in some kind of contest, and like apparently, like at least from my memory, okay, The Cars had some kind of tie to the city I grew up in. I wasn't exactly sure what the story was, but it was kind of like being talked about when their first album came out, that Cleveland, okay, the city that I grew up in, had been particularly important to the formation of this group called The Cars. And at that time they were a new band, and like I said, my brother had like won their album in a contest or something, or on the radio or something, and so the record was in our house, that album cover with the woman in the steering wheel and she's smiling, the big smile, beautiful woman. And they had the songs, hits like Just What I Needed, and Moving in Stereo, and they had so many great songs. And this singer, Benjamin Orr, was, a relatively, well, actually not even relatively, he was a very successful professional musician. He was a rock star. And I'm listening to this guy, rattle off all this negative stuff about Benjamin Orr and how much of a loser he is and everything. And I remember distinctly kind of like thinking to myself, and I didn't say anything, but I was thinking to myself, that's pretty lame that, this guy, Benjamin Orr, or Benjamin Orlowski, that was his real name, but his stage name was Benjamin Orr, kind of like an abbreviated version of Orlowski, right? It was just so lame to me that this guy, Benjamin Orr, could be so successful, like have made something out of his life and had, risen to stardom, made millions of dollars from his craft, writing songs and being a singer, which is extremely difficult. It was even more difficult to do back then, and it was just so lame to me that this guy and his mother, or whatever the stories they were telling, these things they were saying about this guy were all negative. You know, they couldn't come up with anything positive. They weren't like proud of him like I was, you know, like I thought it was cool that he was from, you know, where I was from, and he had done what I ultimately really wanted to do. You know, it was possible for me to do it. You know, he was an example to me. And like I said, I wasn't the biggest fan of Benjamin Orr, but, you know, hearing this guy talk, it just made me think. And I never forgot this. You know, it was like kind of like this revelation to me, you know, that kind of like a note to self, you know, like it doesn't matter, like it wouldn't matter like in my future at that time, because I was only about 16, 17 or 18 years old, you know, at that time when this incident happened, when this guy was talking about this stuff out by the concession stand, you know. But like I was like aspiring to do that. Like I wanted to do that. I wanted to be a professional musician. Now I kind of had resigned myself to the thinking that it would be very difficult. You know, I probably wouldn't go as far as Benjamin Orr was able to have gone, but you know, I would be able to at least do some version of that with my life, you know. And Benjamin Orr from the Cars was like a living, breathing example to me that somebody from where I'm from, you know, somebody that drank from the same water that I did, and somebody that went to the same places that I went, like actually had made it out of Cleveland. Now this is before like 9 Inch Nails made it, you know, and oh my gosh, you know, what a big deal that was. And it was before Mushroom Head, you know, had broke onto the scene, and you know, subsequently went on to what, the international success, you know, as recording artists. So Benjamin Orr from the Cars was one of the first, you know. And I always kind of like remembered that moment. I remembered the stories they told me, and I remember the sentiment in his voice and behind these stories and how negative it was. And it just was like this reminder, or this revelation to me, a lesson, something to store in my memory, that it would not matter how successful I was in the future. Okay, there will always be detractors. Like, it doesn't matter how good my songs are, it doesn't matter how bad they are, it doesn't matter how much money I make or don't make, it doesn't matter how famous I become or I don't become. There will always be detractors, and there will always be people trying to kind of pull me down, you know. No matter how many stadiums I sell out, no matter how many #1 hits I have, no matter what happens, that's just the case. There are always going to be haters, you know. And I kind of like became, I guess the word would be, comfortable with that idea, you know, that I would kind of have to, you know, be prepared emotionally and mentally in the future, you know, for those moments when the people that I care about, or the people that were close to me when I was younger or whatever, like those people would, you know, be talking slag behind my back, you know, and maybe even because I was successful, you know. And I got a little bit of that, you know, I got a taste of that in my younger days. I mean, it was there, but like I said, more important than any personal experience I would have with it, the important thing is that I never forgot, you know, that day and those stories that I heard, and the attitude, and the, you know, I kind of just, well, I guess in some ways, at that moment, when I look back on it now, I kind of feel like I adopted Benjamin Orr, you know, like into my story and into my life as somebody to look up to, as a songwriter, especially now because Benjamin Orr passed away back in the year 2000, and that's a long time ago now. It's like 20 years ago, but over that 20 years since he has been passed away, since he died of pancreatic cancer back in 2000, and I've started to kind of dig in a little bit to his story and where he was from and the songs that he wrote and where he lived and when he died and where he's buried and all those things. And I'm going back and combing through the songs that he wrote and his interviews and just things like that. He's on my heart. His spirit and memory is in my mind and in my heart right now. And like I said, over the years, it never really left me. I've always kind of, whenever I get some kind of negative, whatever from somebody, I've always kind of remembered that story, that, the Benjamin Orr thing, So I wanted to talk about it today because I thought it was one of those things that kind of falls into this category of, talking about the idea of encouraging the people that are around us, and how there's so little of that in our lives. I mean, I'm talking about every single person that is listening to this podcast right now. You, the person listening, how much encouragement have you gotten from the people that are around you, even the people that claim to love you, and they're claiming to be supportive of you. How encouraging are they really? And my guess would be not very. For some reason there's this deficit, this gap with human interaction where it's devoid of encouragement. It's so easy to be critical of other people. Watch somebody trying to do something, trying to achieve something that's difficult, and the odds are against them, and the people around that person, you, me, or whoever, they're not encouraging anything. Now, that's not true with everyone. I mean, there are some people that are strangers to me and some people that are close to me that are very encouraging, and that's kind of like fuel. It's a form of fuel for this trip that I'm on, right? I mean, when people give you accolades or when people give you compliments and they say things that are really, really nice and they like what you're doing and they can kind of see your vision and they're following you and all that, you know what? That's not to be taken for granted, It's really something that I find to be important, but it's lacking. There is a lot of discouragement and a lot of negative kinds of things, especially when it comes to doing anything on a creative level. I remember when I was very young, there was a kid that lived in my neighborhood, and I was always kind of drawing stuff when I was a little kid. I was an artist, a future budding artist. So I was always kind of drawing stuff and putting things together, coming up with ideas and then making them happen, breathing them into life, even when I was really young. And this kid in the neighborhood was always whenever he would see something that I had made or something that I had drawn, anything I had made or created, he would immediately start tearing it apart, and making fun of it. And I always kind of scratched my head about that, because it's like, what is up with that? Like, what would motivate someone to be like just negative for negative's sake? You know, it's so odd and so strange, such strange behavior, you know, and really kind of like destructive and useless, really, and stupid, right? I mean, it's like, what's the point of just always trying to tear other people down? It's something that doesn't appeal to me. It's something that doesn't make any sense to me. And like, I've always come from the school of thought where it's like, when I see somebody doing anything that I find to be impressive or daring or extraordinary or challenging or creative, inventive, you know, non-conventional or conventional, I've always been supportive and encouraging. Like, I think it's fantastic. I love to watch people succeed. It doesn't have to be me that's succeeding. I get as much joy, or maybe even a little bit more, from watching somebody that either I know or I love, or maybe somebody that I don't know, do something incredible, you know, do something impressive, do something that's very difficult, and succeed and do it well. You know, and as far as I'm concerned, I think that's normal, right? Like, it's normal to want to see people do well, I would imagine. Okay, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, you know, and maybe, you know, the reason why there's so much discouragement, you know, floating around in the ether these days as opposed to encouragement is because, really, you know, people's will is really not that good all the time. You know, maybe that's the case. I don't know. I don't know for sure, but maybe that's why. And like I said, I've had a taste of that, you know, ever since I started playing music, you know. You know, from the very beginning, there's always been this, you know, sometimes anyway, this spirit of discouragement, you know, from the people that were around me. You know, a lot of the times I think it was like people kind of coming at me with this attitude like, oh yeah, you know, you're really good, but it's really difficult to make it in the music business. You know, like, you're never going to make it, you know. But then, like, as soon as I would accomplish something great or do something I thought was difficult or they thought was difficult, you know, it's really kind of like a cliche at this point, but, you know, you get the same people, okay? You get the same people saying, oh, I always knew, you know, I always knew he was going to do it. I always knew it. And, you know, I have my handful of those people too, you know, in my life. And why am I talking about this? You know, that's a good question. And the answer to that question is because, you know, I'm not sure how many of the people that are listening to this podcast right now have been discouraged by the people around them or encouraged to succeed and to do something, you know, extraordinary with their life, you know, to do something that was difficult to do. And try to achieve things that are difficult to achieve. You know, I don't know if you have been pulled down or if you've been pushed up, held up by the people around you, but I'm here to tell you, I guess, is that, you know, I got a bit of advice once, actually. I can tell you this. I got a bit of advice from a really, really strong and famous songwriter who said to me, the best advice they could give me and give anyone else that was trying to make it as an artist of any kind, okay, is to not listen to anybody. Like, just do what you do. Like, you have a vision, you have goals, you have desires and things that you're passionate about. Like, don't let what anyone says, whether it's positive or negative, don't let anybody, you know, talk you out of what you're doing. And don't listen to anybody, okay? And I guess maybe that's why, you know, I would tell a story like this, like the one with Benjamin Orr, or maybe like a couple of other things that I'm going to talk about today. Just, you know, stay true to yourself and stay true to your vision and what you want. And, you know, it doesn't matter really in life what it is you want to be. Okay? Whatever it is you want to be, and this is a cliche too, but it's a fact. Okay? If you really want something bad enough, you really do. If you really want it bad enough, stick with it. Okay? Don't stop. You know, try as hard as you can to not be motivated by things like money and, you know, income, like wealth, fame. You know, try to avoid that pitfall and be an artist for yourself first. And don't stop. You know, like whatever you do, I don't care if it's painting, sculpting, music, if it's dentistry, maybe you study law, you want to be a lawyer, you know, maybe you have political aspirations, you know, I don't know, but like whatever it is, listen to me, okay, listen to me, whatever it is that you've got cooking in your mind, whatever dream you have, whatever thing it is you like to do the most, and you want to do it for the rest of your life, do it. And don't do it for money. Don't do it for posterity. Don't do it for fame and recognition. Just do it and don't stop doing it. Like, keep going. Keep getting better. And if you can do that, it doesn't matter what it is that you want to be. If you can keep going, you can stay true to yourself and keep getting better, and, you know, because you want to, right? Because you're doing it all the time, and naturally you want to get better, and you learn more and you get better at what you do. Don't stop. Keep going, because it will come to you. You know, that dream that you have will come to you. And I'm living proof of that. I can honestly and truly tell you right now, right here and now, that I got everything I set out for. I got everything I wanted when I decided at a very young age that I wanted to be a songwriter or a musician, a professional musician. You know, I didn't know how it was going to happen. I didn't know how long it was going to take, but I got there. I didn't make millions of dollars, and I'm not really, really famous. Okay. But, okay, I have made some money, and I am a professional musician. I'm a professional songwriter. You know, I wanted, when I was younger, really, all I really wanted was the ability to make music and have people hear it. That's really all I really wanted. You know, it was not really money, and it was not really fame. Of course, those things are, especially when you're young, those things are really appealing. And, you know, a lot of the time when it comes to being an artist or something like that, you know, making money is a very quick way of validation, you know, especially for the people around you. You know, I'm not a wealthy man, okay? But my music does bring me revenue, and enough for me to be satisfied with what I've got. And that was never, I can tell you honestly and truly, and my track record stands as a testimony to this for anybody who's, you know, familiar with anything that I've done. You know, I give my music away for free. You know, the joy, or like the dream for me, was to have people listen to what I did and enjoy what I create. And I get to sit back and watch people enjoy it. You know, that's really the motivating factor behind all this. Come what may, you know, money or no money, fame or no fame, I will be doing this. Okay, exactly what I'm doing right now. I'll be doing this until I die, until I can't anymore. I'm not alive anymore. I mean, it's really like that kind of thing for me, you know? And I don't know, maybe that is important to share. My experience, as an artist, I guess, is kind of a unique one. When you really think about it, like I do, a lot of the apparatus for my music and my career and all those things, like a lot of this stuff didn't exist 20 years ago, when I started to record myself and all that. It certainly was not around, back in 1991, 92, or 93 when I started writing songs, when I really started to try. The internet didn't exist, and social media didn't exist, and definitely YouTube didn't exist. And, all that stuff, I could never have predicted it, right? I mean, how could I have known that, I had a dream when I was very young. I had a dream that my music would be listened to by people all over the world. Okay. And at that time, you needed a record deal, and you needed, the record company apparatus to distribute your music all over the world. But that's gone the way of the dodo bird. Like in my lifetime, the ability for a guy as small as I am, to be internationally known and have my music being listened to all over the world. Literally every country on the planet Earth is listening to my music right now. I have the analytics to prove it. That was my dream. The money and the accolades and the notoriety and all that kind of stuff, that's just kind of like part of the deal that comes with the territory. The negative stuff too, and that's all part of the deal. But that was never really what I wanted. What I really wanted when I was young was, and I was, and dreaming this up and coming up with, the wildest, fantasy of what my future could be like. It was less than what I've actually gotten in reality. I mean, like and that sounds like it's so easy to say after the fact, right? But I'm telling you, it's the truth. It really is. And the point, again, is that if you are someone, especially a young person, who's kind of getting started, but even if you're not, even if you're an older person, I don't care what age you are, and you're trying to do something, okay? You're trying to do something. You have a vision, there's a goal, it's difficult to achieve, and you're setting out to do it. Don't listen to anybody. Stay true to yourself, And if you stay with what you're doing, if you come up with an idea and you love what you do, well, they always say, there's a cliche, at this point as well. If, you love what you do enough, like that, you don't have to work a day in your life, it's not work. I love what I do. I guess that's really what it all boils down to, really. The summation of all this chatter, all this talk, for how long? What, like 35 minutes so far, or something like that? It's like, I love what I do. Do you love what you do? Do you really love what you do? Or, had somebody kind of talked you out of your dream, or what you wanted to do with your life? What a question, isn't it? Think about that. Are you happy with what you're doing, how you're spending your time, how you're spending your days? We get this one life, right? And it's a finite amount of time, roughly 100 years if we're lucky, right? Are you happy with how you are spending your time? And if you're not, condolences, because that sucks. Okay, and I get it too. Sometimes you just don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. Like you've got to, forego your dreams and your visions and your hopes for practicality and survival. I get that. I get that. That happens to people. And it usually happens for a reason. There's a good reason, a better reason. Fortunately for me, that never really happened, and I guess I was single-minded my entire life. So, yes, I did have to work day jobs, but that was always like a means of survival to keep this music thing going. That's how I saw it. That's how I see it now. The fact that I'm able to do it full time and, I'm satisfied and comfortable with the life that I'm living. I don't need any more than I have. I have more than enough right now. I don't need to be more famous. I don't need to be more wealthy or anything like that. Granted, yeah, I would accept that if it came, but probably not the same way that other artists have. It's not something that appeals to me a great deal. I've gotten a taste, okay? I've gotten a taste of like the public thing and the fame thing. Got like a little taste of it, right? And it's not for me. It's really not, especially now at the age of almost 50. Like that's not something that appeals to me. I want people to listen to what I do and enjoy it, but and I love it when they tell me, and things like that, but the idea of getting any more than I've already gotten is not appealing. I know that may sound strange, okay, but trust me, if you had seen the world through my eyes, you'd be the exact same way, I don't need any more than I have. I do not want what I haven't got, to quote another brilliant singer-songwriter. I do not want what I haven't got. And you know what? Think about that. And ask yourself these questions, man. It's like, are you doing right now? Right now, are you doing what you really want to be doing with your time? And if not, what would you rather be doing? Or if you are actually doing what you want to be doing, what are you doing? Like, what is it you're actually doing? And, I guess I could say this, that if you ever need a bit of encouragement, okay, you need words of encouragement, whatever it is you're setting out to do, all you got to do is hit me up at my email, and I will give you encouragement because I'm always excited for you, like if you're doing cool stuff and you're setting out to do something really difficult and, wild or, creative or amazing, and it's impossible and the odds are against you and, you think that it's just impossible. You'll never get there. You're wrong. Okay, you're wrong. Stick with what you're doing. Longevity is everything. Don't listen to what anybody says to you. And you know what? Don't do it for money. Don't do it for money. Whatever it is you're going to do, or whatever it is you are doing, try to abandon, that desire, for it to make money. If you're willing to forego the making of money, the making of revenue, like for the success and the life of your art and your creativity, the money will come. It's a fact. Just if you are just making art for art's sake or for your sake, the money will come. It may take a long time. And in my case, it took a very long time, a lot longer than I thought it would. Okay. But I got there. I did. I got exactly what I wanted. When I was very young and I dreamed it all up, I got exactly what I dreamed of. It happened. It happened in my life. And let me tell you, for better or for worse. I do not want what I haven't got. And with that, my happy innovators, love you guys. I rambled today, I know, but I was speaking from my heart, I'm speaking from my heart, and I'm speaking from my experience, and I'm speaking about my experience, right? So everybody has a story, everybody has the way it was, for them, and my story, however strange, however hard and difficult to understand, or whatever. I mean, especially for the people around me, that knew me, they were, I'm sure there were moments where they were scratching their heads like, when is he going to snap out of it? And thank God I didn't, because, they were wrong and I was right. Okay. I was going to have to wait. But my dreams did come true. And, to tell you the truth, I'm staring at my new guitar right here. To bookend this thing, to go full circle here today, I'm staring at my brand new guitar right here. Actually, holding it in my hands. And it's proof positive. It's proof positive that not only did all my dreams come true as far as, being able to have people all over the world listen to and enjoy the songs that I wrote, okay, the music that I made, but along the way, I even got a couple of nice toys too. And this guitar is kind of like symbolic of that to me. Kind of a subtle reminder that I can get some of this stuff too. The material things, even though I did not set out for that, I managed to get some of it. I managed to get it all, right? I mean, that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. I managed to have my dreams come true. And not because I was really smart or I was really gifted or talented or anything like that. Nothing like that. I just had to stick with it. I had to work hard. I had to love what I do. And I had to stick with it and never give up. And I never, ever gave up, not even for a split second. And here I am now. I'm a happy camper. Okay, so, normally at the end of my podcasts, especially over the past year, it's been about a year, I think, maybe since COVID started, I've been putting music at the end of each one of my podcasts, right? And I decided that there's a song I have that I'm about to release for the new Pipe Choir album, The Wrench and the Rubicon. I have a song called A Slave to Nothing. And there's a little bit of a story behind this song. I figured I would share with you the story of the song, and then at the end of this podcast, I'll give you a listen to the original version of A Slave to Nothing. But the reason that I wanted to talk about this particular song, it's a decent song. It's something that I thought was relatively decent. And I had recorded it a long time ago, originally written and recorded it a long time ago, probably back in like 2012 or 2013. And when I recorded this song and when I wrote it, A Slave to Nothing, I didn't know how to master my own songs. Okay, so I had the recording process down, but I did not yet know how to master my songs. So I had to hire out as an experiment, really, for this particular track, because I felt the song was strong enough. It warranted, giving this whole mastering thing a shot. And so I found somebody online who mastered songs for a fee, and I sent my song to this person to be mastered. And, unfortunately for me, the experience was not a good one. The song was handed back to me, not ruined, but, the person who mastered the song didn't love the song. Okay. So they didn't really care about what they were doing. And, to add, insult to injury. Okay. And this plays into this whole encouragement, discouragement thing. The guy who had mastered my song sent, this message back to me with the song. And he said that if I ever, and this is what he said, this is like, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but this is the sentiment. It was like, if you ever write a song that's good, let me know, and I'll be glad to master it for you, or something like that, something along those lines. Like this song is not good, but if you ever do make a good song, like I would be willing to, master it for you, and for a fee, of course, and that was one of those things where it's like, such a cynical and discouraging thing to say, especially to someone that you don't know. And I had not asked for, his opinion of the song, and I happen to think the song was pretty good, but I always kind of remembered that, with this song, A Slave to Nothing, that, it was a lesson in life, much like standing outside, in high school by the concession stand while this one guy just was ripping Benjamin Orr apart. I took note, mental note to self. Well, the same kind of thing when I got this song mastered and handed back to me. And I subsequently wound up not using the mastered version of the song for release at that time. And, it was just like a thorough waste of time and money and energy. Like I vowed to myself at that point that I was going to learn how to master my own music and never, ever, ever again pay somebody to master my music for me. Why? Because people are stupid? Well, that's part of it. But mostly it's because I will never hand my music over to someone who doesn't love it as much as I do. To do any kind of technical processes, it's just not going to happen. So, lesson in life. And I learned how to master my own music, and now I do it all the time. And I know, especially now, when I listen to, like when I compare my mastering ability to what this guy handed back to me back in 2013 or whatever, this mastering house I sent my song to, yeah, they didn't care, and they just wanted my money. And this guy was just such an a-hole, so much so that I never went back again. I never turned back. I just went forward and learned how to do it myself. And, there is an old cliche that says if you want something done right, you do it yourself. Well, it's true. It's a cliche for a reason. Anyway, my point is that at the end of this podcast, what I'll share with you is the version of A Slave to Nothing that I released. Oh, man, like I said, 2013 maybe. And, I had the idea a few months back to revisit that song, but that kind of happens to me a lot. I'll remember songs from the past and I'll think, oh yeah, I should work on that one, or I should redo that one, or whatever, And with this particular track, I thought, because it was a decent song, it was a strong song, I thought, relatively strong, and the mastering thing had gone so bad and everything. I thought maybe what I should do is revisit A Slave to Nothing, and make it what I can, like right now. Like with other songs I've had from the past, right? The ones that you've heard, like Circuit Freaker, right? Rocking Back and Forth. Maybe this album, The Wrench and the Rubicon, is really kind of a hearkening back to these older ideas that I've had. And there are some new ones too, some brand new ones, like Anatoly. It's brand new. But A Slave to Nothing, yeah, I decided to redo it. And that's what you will hear, okay, coming very soon. Okay, it'll come very soon. It's the next song that's slated for release for the new album. And then immediately after A Slave to Nothing, I have a brand new song, and one that I think people will like. I hope they like as much as I do. I'm pretty excited about these next two songs. And so if you're into it, stick around past the end of this podcast, and you'll get a little peek of Slave to Nothing circa 2013, and you can compare it to the new version if you want. All right? The new version will be, by the way, mastered, okay, by me. So, with that, my happy innovators, until next time, if you want to keep what you've got to give it away. Take it easy, everybody. Okay, all you happy innovators, you crazy ones who are wild and crazy and you stick around till after the podcast is over, I've got, like I promised for you, A Slave to Nothing circa 2013, a pipe choir song I worked on a while back, one of those things where it just kind of came together really nicely, and I like to think anyway that the newer version is maybe a little bit better. Improved, new and improved. Maybe I'm wrong, though. I don't know. I'll let you be the judge. So here you go. Check it out. Pipe choir, A Slave to Nothing, circa 2013. And stay tuned, folks, because the new version of A Slave to Nothing will be being released within days. Okay? So peace out, everybody. And until next time, stay safe, have fun, and rock on. Peace out, everybody.